The Bible has really significant things to say about homosexuality. There are 5 or 6 places where the Bible directly addresses the issue. But even more widely than that, and I think more importantly than that, the Bible doesn't give us a theology of homosexuality, it gives us a theology of marriage. And what we think about homosexuality is just one outworking of what the Bible shows us about marriage. So the biblical vision for human sexuality is that marriage is between a man and a woman for life, and that is the only context for which God has designed the gift of sex. So that immediately shows us that any kind of sexual behaviour outside of that, any definition of marriage contrary to that, those are not things that we can embrace as Christians. And the reason for that is because marriage ultimately is a picture of Christ and the church. And so human sexuality, human marriage is given to us as a signpost of the big thing God is doing in the universe, which is making a people for his Son, Jesus Christ. And that informs and fuels our understanding of marriage and our vision for human sexuality. So it just simply means that there are going to be a number of ways in which our views on these things differ from our cultures. And one of those ways is that we do not see same-sex sexual relationships as being compatible with Christian discipleship. And the reason is because, repeatedly in the Bible, marriage is based on the fact that we are male and female, and the joining of the two is uniquely significant, both for human flourishing and in spiritual significance. So where those who are pressing for the acceptance of gay relationships in the church, I think are most mistaken is in assuming marriage can just as easily be between a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, as it could be between a man and a woman. But actually Jesus himself in Matthew 19 shows us that the reason we have marriage is because God has made us male and female. That doesn't mean being made male and female means we have to marry. It just means that we can only marry because God has made us as sexually different and complementary men and women. Now, how the gospel speaks into this quite simply is by showing us that all of us fall short of the glory of God in this area of life. All of us are fallen in our sexuality. All of us have disordered affections and desires. And so for any of us to come into a relationship with Jesus, all of us are going to have to repent of sexual sin. All of us are going to have to say no to certain sexual desires, and all of us are going to have to live in obedience to Jesus' teaching on sex and marriage. So discipleship is going to be costly for anyone, just in this one area of life, as it is in all of life. But we also know that obedience to Jesus, whether we're married or single, is always better for us and brings deeper joy than disobedience does. So even if someone is exploring discipleship maybe they come from the gay community, it's never a bad deal to follow Jesus. It is always worth it, even in this life, to follow Jesus. And the reason for that is because Jesus doesn't just want my sexuality, he wants all of me. And that's the case for all of us. He wants everything from every one of us. And so all of life is given to Jesus. And all of life is so vastly improved by giving it to Jesus. So it's not that I have to live in obedience to what Jesus teaches on sex and marriage, it's that I get to. And his ways are always going to be a ton better than my ways.